Hello. I thought I'd speak to you today from my garden in front of the wonderful Chipotrella. As I captured it last night, some people might have seen on my page the shot of the Milky Way over Chipotrella, and I thought, well, what a nice backdrop to have in this Trecena video. So today I'm going to be talking about the Trecena of Ajmak and what are we likely to understand from it? What are we likely to encounter through it? And how is the Trecena of Ajmak going to affect us all? Well, you know, I have to say that things didn't quite go according to plan today. And that is, for me, one of the essences of Ajmak. Okay? It's about human nature. And our human nature is what makes us special. Our human nature is what makes us lovable. Our human nature is what makes us fallible as well. And I've been thinking about this a lot over the last couple of days. I don't know why it sort of like suddenly comes up. Normally, I'm just kind of like very much off the cuff with things, but today I was really kind of like thinking a lot about how when we try to be perfect, this actually kind of like sort of decreases our sweetness because get so focused on being so perfect about things, it takes away our humanity because humans aren't perfect. We're messy creatures. We don't get things right. In fact, sometimes we get things really wrong. And then it's up to us to go and either ask for an apology or to apologize or to forgive ourselves for what we've got wrong. And that's the nature of Ahmad. I kind of had this idea in my head, or this feeling in my heart, maybe, about that it's up to us to love the scars that we carry, to accept the scars that they're part of our story. Without them, it's kind of like sometimes you see things which are fresh off the production line and they're all shiny and new and they look great and that kind of thing. But once they've got a little scratch here, a little scrape there, a little ding here, that kind of thing, this is actually something which gives it character. Because without those those signs of wear, we don't have a character. If everything's always been perfect, there's been no challenge, there's been no toughness. This is not really a human existence. And so it's about having those kind of things. But it's also about understanding, yeah, that's part of my story, that's part of your story. I love you for the scars that you carry. I love me for the scars that I carry. I accept them. I don't have to keep replaying them as well because we need to learn from them and move on. That's part of the forgiveness process. Because if we become too attached to them, that's when we can get bound up in this guilt or we can get bound up in blaming people or something like that. And Ahmach is teaching us all about that process as well. And so it's very much like this process of Ahmach, this Trecena of Ahmach, could be very much seen as kind of like time for a clean out, as it were, karmic clean out, to release and let go of what you don't need to carry with regards to when we've been less than perfect, when we've been human, when we've been sweet, to embrace these things and allow that sweetness of humanity to flow. And so maybe it's a time to be a bit messy or a bit messier than usual. Maybe it's a time to kind of like allow those scars to be seen, to allow yourself to be a bit vulnerable. Maybe it's a time to go and forgive. Learn the lesson, to hold it and to use it for what it brings to you, but to embrace the humanity which is attached to it as well. So we're going to begin with the day of one Ahmach. And one Ahmach, this is the potential to forgive. I'm forgiving the guy with the circular saw who's over there right now because I chose to be in this place and he has to work. So, that's just the way it is. The potential for forgiveness, the one like the seed which needs its fertilizer, which needs its water to grow into its full potential. And Ahmach, well, yes, forgiveness, but also the sweetness of being a human. And the sweetness of being human, that's our ultimate expression of humanity. And so when we look at it with that context, it is the potential for sweetness. And that potential for sweetness comes through the forgiveness process. So maybe it's like having another go at it. starting again, saying, right, okay, I tried to accept that, or I tried to forgive this, or blah, 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 or however that might work. Now it's time to say, right, okay, I can't go on carrying that like a burden. Now I need to release it. So I'm going to have another go at forgiveness. That's what one Ajmak can bring to us. From one Ajmak, we're then going to go to two Noch. Two Noch, Noch representing the thought, representing the mind, representing the brain, the intellectual knowledge, the understanding of how to solve the problems with the knowledge that we carry. Now, one of the things that I particularly like to see with two Noch, because the two is like choices, it's decisions. It can be black and white, it can be left or right, it can be up and down, heads or tails, however it might be. And what we can see is that there is a dualistic nature to it. It's seeing both sides. And for me, two Noch is very much about seeing things in black and white, seeing both sides of the story, collating information from both sides of the story and bringing it together to solve the problem. And so maybe this is also what we can do within our forgiveness process, is kind of like maybe see it from a different perspective, from the opposite perspective. Maybe see our actions or the influence of our actions on others, or the like how somebody else's actions, they might not have seen what they were doing. And so to understand it from both sides and come up with a true and accurate solution. From two Noch, we're then going into three Tijax. Tijax, the obsidian blade. Tijax, the purifier. Tijax, the one who cuts through to the truth, the one who cuts through to the divine. And where are we aiming that obsidian blade this time? Well, the number three represents very strongly the world of the within. And so this is very much the three Tijax being about the inner refinement. And of course, this is what we're doing through our forgiveness process. Of course, this is what we're doing through our acceptance. Tijax also representing the healer. And this is very much about the inner healing process, which comes through the resolution, which comes through the forgiveness. And so 3T again is a great day. For me, all 3 days are great days to be in your home, reflecting on what's going on inside of you and healing in this case. Also to be cutting away what has no place within you anymore. Once again, releasing with gratitude those lessons that you've learned, those lessons that can be now forgiven, passed on, remembered, kept as a lesson, but passed on and released. From 3T we would then go into 4 Kawok. So Kawok, well, the thunder is rumbling around here. We were in Canicula. It was a beautiful, open, clear sky last night, but the storm clouds are rolling in again today. But of course, you can see behind me how green this is. Maybe you saw some videos that I made back in January or February when all of this was yellow. And now look what the rain has done. It's brought all this greenness, all the corn growing, all the trees growing up there. How beautiful the rain has brought it to. And this is what Kawok does. It nurtures and it brings life from the soil. It's the emergence of life. That's why it's also the midwife energy. It can also be the healing energy. Now, Kawok can be the storm, and the storm, the flood, is something which doesn't allow that which is old, that which is worn out, to stay standing. It will get washed away. The strong and vital remain, but the old and outworn has to go so that new life can come in. The number 4 can represent the physical plane of existence. And so this could be very much about new birth on the physical plane of existence. It can be very much about bringing new things into the physical plane of existence. It might well be about a physical storm as well. But it's about allowing ourselves to go through the process, because Kawok is there to guide us. Kawok is there to hold our hand, to reassure us through our healing process, but also to ensure that we go through it, because we have to heal one way or another. We can't go on in the same way. And so as part of this Ajmak Trecena, of this release and this forgiveness, for Kawok is very much kind of like looking into the physical side of things and saying, right, okay, where is the physical healing needed here? What do I need to do to remove the physical obstructions to healing, to stepping into a new life? From 4 Kawok, we then go into 5 Ajpu. Well, Ajpu representing the sun, Ajpu representing the quest for the divine, Ajpu representing our own hero's journey, and here with the number 5 saying that we've got to put some work into it. This is a day to apply effort. And of course, it would be great if these things just happened like that, right? It would be great if we could just kind of like go out and yes, I forgive you, and there everything's peachy again, but it's not quite like that. Sometimes we got to put a bit more effort into it. We've got to put a bit more energy into it. And 5 Aq'ab'al is certainly a day for that. Aq'ab'al days can sometimes give us the dragon in our path. You know, it's like for me, like Ajpu, very, very connected with the hero's quest. And part of the hero's quest is facing the challenge, right? Facing the biggest challenge sometimes, going into the dragon's lair or whatever it might be, in order to overcome it, come out the other side. And here with the 5, putting our work into it, it's not going to drop into our lap. And so there we are. We got to go and like put our energy into facing what we need to face in order to overcome it, so that we can come out elevated on the other side. Because of course Aq'ab'al is also seen as the path to ascension, the path to the higher state, and that's what happens when we overcome the the challenge on our path. From 5 Aq'ab'al, we then go into 6 Imox. So Imox, the lake, the great ocean, the consciousness that we're part of. Imox, connecting with other people, our psychic network that connects us with all around us. It's also the dream world. And the number 6 representing family, the number 6 also representing the ultimate stability. So this can be something about stabilizing our dreams, but it can also be connecting with our family very strongly. Maybe we need their support, maybe we need their opinion, maybe we need to understand how they feel about it as we go through that process of healing, as we go through that process of forgiveness in the Ajmak part of it. It's also seeing how we can stabilize our dreams in this reality, to bring them, to call upon the divine masculine and divine feminine, to realize our dreams into this reality, because that's what we have the opportunity to do when we embrace our humanity, when we embrace less forgiveness. From 6 Imosh, we then go into 7 Ik. So 7 Ik, I always like to call the final word, because we have the number 7 representing death, finality and endings, and Ik representing communication. So could be a day of burning bridges, could be a day to kind of like put that final word in with regards to the forgiveness aspect. As I said, I'm not keen on the idea of forgive and forget, because that would infer that we lose the lesson of it. But sometimes we do need to have that final word. We do need to, maybe there is things which have been left hanging that need to be just resolved. 7 Ik is a great day to use and choose which words you might use in order to resolve the situation, to have that final word, to finally clear what needs clearing, to clear the air, as it were. Now, the 7 would suggest that all of the best options are visible to you in that moment. And so it's kind of like, well, okay, what words are you going to choose in order to heal this situation? From 7 Ik, we then go into 8 Aq'ab'al. And so 8 Aq'ab'al, the wholeness of the concept, the bringing forth the whole concept. So the number 8 I see as the entire cycle of life, the entire cycle of night and day. It's the 1 and the 7, the beginning and the end, all coming together in wholeness. So it's the whole concept. 13 days ago, I'm speaking to you on this day of 13 Zikin. So 13 days ago, we were on the day of 1 Aq'ab'al, and it was this new concept that we're bringing in. Well, 8 Aq'ab'al is the fully fledged, fit and ready to go concept that's like we're ready to take to the table. We're ready to get it out into the world. So this is now something we can move forward with. This is now something that we can actually turn into a fully fledged project, a fully fledged weaving. So it's a great day to kind of like flesh out your concepts, to actually kind of like take them out to your company, your friends, your family, whoever it might be that you are presenting that kind of project to, and say, right, okay, here it is. I've dotted all the I's, I've crossed all the T's. This is my new concept that I'm bringing out to the world. It's a great day to like finalize the beginning of those new projects. From 8 Aq'ab'al, we're then going into 9 Kat. So Kat, the net, Kat, that which binds, Kat, which brings things together. I always look at the Kat days as these days of, well, catch and release, these days of decluttering on whatever level that might be. But what does the 9 represent? Well, the 9 can represent the feminine, but the 9 can also represent life itself. So it's a decluttering of your life. What could be more appropriate to appear in the Ajmak Trecena, where we are forgiving and releasing, than the decluttering of life itself? Because that's what the essence is. When you have a less cluttered life, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, however it might be, then you have more room to grow. You have more room to bring stuff into your net. You have to let go of the old stuff that's just like rocks in your net that serves no purpose, so that you can move into the new world, so that you can collect what you need to collect for your ongoing journey. So once again, it's about looking through your life and seeing what serves you and what no longer serves you, and cutting it free from your net with gratitude, cutting it free with forgiveness, and saying, thank you very much for the lesson. I think I'm done now. Goodbye. Let it go. Open the net and allow the new to come in. From 9 Kat, we then go into 10 Kan. So Kan, the Nawal of power. Kan, the Nawal of wisdom. Kan, the Nawal of the teacher. The number 10 representing community, representing hands coming together, representing cooperation. This is what we see. And so 10 can be the wisdom of the community, and sometimes we might need to refer to it. Sometimes we're not sure how to progress. Sometimes in that forgiveness process, perhaps as it's ramping up day by day, it gets a little bit tougher, and we need to go and ask some advice. We need some counsel. We need some agreements to be made. We can also see it with the number 10 and Kan representing teaching. This is a great day to be sharing the wisdom of the community and sharing your wisdom with your community. And so setting up some kind of forum, perhaps a forgiveness forum or something like that, and hearing the wisdom of each member of your community may help you on your journey through the Ajmak Trecena. From 10 Kan, we then go into 11 Kame. So Kame, once again, about facing our fears. Kame, the Nawal of death. Kame, the Nawal of the ancestors. And here with the number 11. Now, the number 11 I always kind of see as these different directions which may not necessarily be connected, but they're all coming into us. And with Kame, this may be fears coming from many different directions. It may also be kind of like people asking you, well, are you sure you want to do that right now? Is that a good idea? And kind of like maybe there's some seeds of fear that are being set into your mind. But this is also about overcoming them. It's about looking in many different directions for the support from your ancestors, for the support from spirit, in order to do that. So from 11 Kame, we're then going into 12 Kiach. So, well, mountain, wilderness, greenness, that's all Kiach up there, right? The beautiful green, that which brings us strength, that which brings us understanding. Kech, the spiritual leader, who gains their wisdom by walking amongst the trees, by walking in the altars, in the shrines up in the mountains. Kech, who brings us strength to get through what we need to get through. And I'm sure that as I say, as we go through the Ajmak Trecena, as it ramps up, 12 Kech comes as a welcome relief. And, you know, it's kind of like, sometimes when we put things into perspective, that's how we can forgive better. And sometimes in order to put things into perspective, we need to take a walk in the woods. We need to take a walk in the hills. That's how we do it. That's what we bring to our lives. And so 12 Kech is an excellent day to do that. But if you can't do that, the number 12 also represents all of life's experiences. And so what we could see from 12 Kech, it could be looking back on the great hikes that you've taken in the woods, the great moments that you've had in the wilderness, and bringing them together and using the wisdom, the strength that you draw from those hikes, from that experience in the wilderness, using that to help you to overcome and forgive what needs to be forgiven. And finally, from 12 Kech, we then go into 13 Anil. So Anil, the ripening, the yellowing, bringing things to their ultimate fruition, bringing things to their ultimate abundance, a joyful day. And the number 13 representing spirit, representing the ancestors. So this is what we're going to. This is our ultimate reward. When we've done the work, when we've done the forgiveness work, as we've gone through the Trecena of Ajmak, what do we get to? The joy of spirit. So Anil days, I often see, they are our joyful days. They are the days when we're taking the harvest. Everything has ripened and we're ready now to kind of like take in that harvest and enjoy the fruits of our labor. And here, it's in association with spirit. So it's maybe kind of like the harvest that comes from the spirit world. Maybe there's something that's going to pop into your world that you weren't expecting on that day. But ultimately, the path to that comes through the forgiveness work of the Ajmak Trecena. So it's kind of like, it could also be like that great sigh of relief, because Anil has this joyful essence to it. And it's almost as if spirit is sighing with you, saying, ah, it's over. We've been forgiven. We've forgiven those others. And now it's time to reap the benefit. Now it's time to reap the reward. Now it's time for the joy to come in. Okay? So thank you for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again in 13 days' time for the Trecena of Toch. Thank you.